for joining. The Community Connector was created in March of 2020, initially to keep the Washtenaw County community and elder care services providers informed, engaged, and connected until everything normalizes a little bit, if that'll ever be a thing. Hopefully it will be. Every month, we have approximately 5 speakers that has an opportunity to educate our participants about their services and how they work through the pandemic. So we encourage you all to post your individual information in the chat feature. That's where all the magic happens. And of course, participate in Q&A after the presentations. And again, thank you all for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Pandora. And I wanted to just, relay that we do have discussion questions that you can see here. But we've asked all of our participants to really just dig down and figure out what they want to specifically reach out to everyone on. Everyone's going to have about 6 to 7 minutes today. Love to hear about, all of their specialties, all of that. Our first speaker is going to be Kathleen Boude. She's a certified art therapist, and she is also works in a professor realm as well for many universities. Kathleen, go ahead.
Can everyone see the screen?
You might want to try to share again.
All right, let me try again. Here.
No worries.
Here we go.
There we go.
Here we go. All right. Well, thank you first off for inviting me to be with all of you today. I'm looking forward to hearing all the other presenters. I am Kathleen Boude. I've been an art therapist for almost 20 years now. And during that time, I have worked with a variety of populations and ages from really 5 years old up to 100. Before I get into the details of what I do, I'm curious, show of hands, who is familiar with art therapy? Raise your hand if you're, okay, yeah, great. So it is a mental health profession. It's defined as when people work with an art therapist, they use art media, the creative process, and the resulting artwork to build awareness of feelings, foster self-esteem, explore feelings, and really gain a number of benefits, which I will talk about in a bit. But it's important in art therapy that we say it's the process, not the product. So it's about using the language of art, line, shape, color, form, texture, to express what's going on with someone. And it's not at all about artistic abilities or background. I often hear, oh, I'm not creative, I'm not artistic, but that's not true. We're all creative, and it's my job to help people reconnect if they aren't already connected to their creative core. So I work with a lot of different media. I try to make my approach as accessible and non-threatening as possible. I started my career working with youth at risk, worked with adults with HIV/AIDS, and most recently, I'd say the past 10 to 15 years, I have taught at many places. I don't need to name them all. And then I also focus on palliative and hospice care, cancer care, and older adults, as well as just bringing art therapy to populations and communities to help overall wellness. So it's interesting. I love that there's people here from hospice. I worked in hospice for 6 to 7 years in Kalamazoo, but right now I primarily am working for West Michigan Cancer Center and some senior centers, as well as, again, community groups that I do. So there are many benefits to be had from art therapy. And what I love about it is that it's really holistic. It taps into, both sides of our brain, and it's physiological. And there's been research that shows that just engaging in creativity can enhance what they call the relaxation response. So that means our heart rate is lowered, our breathing can be lowered, and our blood pressure. So it's almost meditative just when you're in that act of creating. So what will that do? Well, that helps reduce stress. And depending on who I'm working with, either a group or an individual, I cater my interventions, my directives to reach the goals that would be for that particular person or group. So what's interesting too, with the media that we use, if I'm working with somebody that's highly agitated, has a lot of energy going on, I will adapt my approach and use media that might help bring some calm and lower that anxiety. And just the opposite, if somebody's lethargic, depressed, again, I would choose a media and a directive that would help bring about maybe some more energy to that person. So here I have two examples, and I have signed consent to show the images I will be sharing today. The bottom two are the same adult woman, and she dealt with anxiety a lot. So she just used painting to create the one on the left and titled it Scrambled Brain. So again, you see it's not about artistic abilities necessarily, or like creating an aesthetically beautiful work of art. That might be the result, but often it's just expressing ourselves. And then on the right, you know, she titled it Anxiety Pizza, which I thought was a wonderful title. And I'm showing this slide to give you an idea of the different media that I use. On the top left, it's a drawing that a woman did who was in hospice. So it's very symbolic of how she was feeling. On the top right, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a wooden box. So it's an assemblage of objects that a woman dealing with gynecological cancer created, and it was titled Her Journey of Cancer. And then the bottom left is a like torn paper and oil pastel creation that's landscapes of emotion. So each element is symbolic of different emotions that this woman was feeling. And then the bottom right is a torn tissue paper collage that is symbolic of a emotion. So I'd like to ask, does anyone want to share what emotion the bottom right image looks like to you? And there's no, you know, we're all different, we're all unique, so our interpretations vary, but anybody want to share what that looks like, what emotion you would think?
Maybe she's feeling on fire.
Good. And what emotion might that be? What's fiery?
Could it be self-destructive?
Okay, good. Anybody else?
I'm hearing rage. I put anger,
Anger.
anxiety.
Thank you, because she was depicting anger. And what makes us think of anger if we look at that? What are some of the characteristics? I'm not hearing people, so I don't know if anybody's talking. Anyway, it's the color, perhaps, the way she applied the tissue paper, you know, because if it was a calm emotion, it probably wouldn't have so much going on, so many edges. So this just gives you an idea that we really use these elements of art, you know, the texture, color, shape, to further symbolize how we're feeling, because often when people are dealing with really complex, complicated emotions and experiences, we can use visual means to first express ourselves and then use that product, the final artistic product, to begin to dialogue further about what's going on inside of a person.
Yeah.
And I just want to end with this because I think it, you know, addresses working with older adults. It's wonderful for psychosocial needs. And particularly when I worked in hospice, it really provided a sense of purpose and meaning when I would meet with somebody, because as we know, often we experience a lot of losses. So this gives them a sense of control and decision-making. Art is a powerful way to connect people, whether it's, again, individual, and we create something, they can then communicate what's going on with them to their loved ones. And also when we're doing groups, it's a wonderful, powerful tool to connect people, like in support groups for cancer. It really is a great tool for communication because, again, sometimes words are hard to find. And then leaving a legacy. I know I said it's often not about the product, but sometimes it is. If I'm working with older adults, they might want to make something as a gift for someone, particularly around the holidays. So that's important. But then also just any artwork that, again, in hospice care that somebody created, that was then a legacy for their family members and loved ones to have as a keepsake. So quickly about how the pandemic has affected me. No longer can I do the in-person art therapy work that I do. So I've had to adapt and create virtual groups. And it's interesting because I really build in aspects of dealing with the pandemic. As we all know, people are feeling isolated, feeling a lot of anxiety and stress. So those things are addressed also in the work that I do. And we've also provide for the groups kits that people can pick up. So nobody is excluded because they don't have materials on hand. And then I've listed, these are the names of some of the groups that I'm doing right now. But I work, like I said, with older adults, cancer care, and community groups around the area. So that's it. I'm going to leave with a quick quote that I think encompasses my idea anyway of creativity, that an artist is not a special kind of person, but rather every person is a special kind of artist because we all are creative. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. And I love hearing it's about the process and not the destination, and just using the language of art is just so important. And I love seeing those pictures. They spoke 1,000 words. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our next speaker is Jasmine Teachout. She is the founder of Motivated and Moving LLC. Jasmine, I would love to see, Jasmine, are you ready to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I sure am, as long as you guys
Wonderful.
are ready. Okay.
Yep, we're ready. Thank you.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. Kathleen, I love learning a little bit more about art therapy specifically, so I appreciate your time, and that was a beautiful PowerPoint. It's amazing what people can create when they use their resources and put their minds to it. So anyways, I am the founder of Motivated and Moving. We are a small business. I'm a licensed physical therapist assistant, and that is exactly what guided me to this small business. Working in the communities for many years, I worked in a variety of settings, and I observed repetitively a need for this type of service. I saw a very large gap, especially with seniors in the course of their care. So they would often be discharged from physical therapy, and then we would see them back in the clinic or on our schedules if I was doing home health care just a couple short months later. And I always loved to see them, but I felt like there was such a gap that I wish that I was able to hold them more accountable and maybe come to their home or their facility to allow them to have the opportunity to stay home in the cold weather, to avoid that slip and fall, to eliminate the issues sometimes with traveling, take the burden off of the family member. Anyways, all of those things is what has led me to Motivated and Moving. I started it in 2018, and originally I was doing that and working in the clinic full time. I decided I didn't have enough time to commit to both entirely. And when I am committed to something, it's usually over 100%. So I had to leave. I did leave the clinic. I was super sad. I still do stay connected with them. But anyways, I focused my entire career on this. COVID has obviously played a significant role in our growth from obviously a financial obviously standpoint. We're doing a ton of investing right now, which is amazing, and I love it. I never would have expected that 3 months after I decided to step away and take this on full time that we would have a pandemic come and absolutely keep us away from our target audience. But we have modified. We are built on some seriously strong values that we hold very accountable. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for the seniors wherever it is that they call home. So we are built on that strong foundation, which allows us to modify our principles. So that's why we are able to, instead of work, which our mission is to work one-on-one with these individuals to help them continue the growth functionally at home. So they don't necessarily have had to have been a patient, if you will, of physical therapy services. Just any senior that is, especially with COVID now, feeling unmotivated, losing their thunder, losing their functional ability. This is super common to see everywhere right now, but instead of working one-on-one with them in person, we are offering virtual services to groups or individuals. So even so, it's hard to get our word out there because we're new. So we do virtual in-services with directors, or we meet in person. Like I said, we've been doing a lot of marketing and building a very strong foundation. So we have creative leaders in all of these settings that we're marketing to until we're allowed to get in there and get our hands working with some of these seniors. But we've been in the local communities over the last few weeks, actually. Yesterday, it was in Macomb County. Actually, I presented an in-service on the caregivers. I was so thankful that during this time, the facility went above and beyond to help their caregivers out. It was a safety, just a little safety thing, but it meant so much to me to be a part of that. And then I love to see that they are still investing in their caregivers to provide the highest quality of care for their seniors. So that to me was amazing. Entirely different than what I thought we would be doing prior to COVID, but that's what we're doing right now, and I love it. So we are willing to accept the fact and have always known that this is a marathon and not a race. Motivated and moving is a significant need in the communities. I cannot wait to be able to take the original idea full steam ahead, but like I said, with this new approach that we're conforming to, it's entirely working for us in our favor. We do the way that we give back is unique. Again, like I said, we've been able to conform. We have been hired in a couple of local facilities. They are having an opening date in the next coming weeks, and they've actually called and notified us that they put us on their schedule without telling us, and I'll make sure that it was okay that we can in fact be there. And they are just so excited to have us. And obviously we are just as excited to be there. But they, just like I said, they're getting creative with their ideas to help fill the gaps. And this morning I confirmed with a branch of Michigan Medicine that we are going to be donating. I haven't even talked about the blankets yet, so I'm going to touch on that, but donating a blanket to their annual Big Hearts for Seniors event that takes place in May. So I just filled out the paperwork and got that over to them. That leads me to our giving back portion. Again, with COVID, we've had a little bit of extra free time on our hands than what we had expected originally. So finding, seeing a problem, addressing it, and creating a solution is our expertise, whether it's applying it to the seniors, but I mean, just in life in general, there's always things that we can work on to be better people and individuals. So while I see a significant need for personal connection right now with these seniors, it kills me every time I see them, honestly, and I know a lot of us can relate. But what I did is I pulled out some of my old tricks that my grandmother used to teach me when I was a little child. I developed a knot. I know it's not similar, and I know she probably would actually be disappointed that I'm not using the needle. But I did, I'm using my hands, and I say that I'm donating quarterly, but I have to tell you guys, I've donated 15 blankets, handmade lap blankets to the seniors of these communities since COVID began. So the one that I'm donating to Michigan Medicine that I spoke with is this one here. I got little labels made. I'm not sure if you can see that, but these are lap blankets. They average about 48 by 36, roughly. They're actually pretty heavy duty. They are able to be washed and dried. So when I do a meet and greet, whether it's virtual or in person, I drop one of these off, and then I donate it during the course of the presentation. So they always love that.
Hey, Jasmine, I'm going to jump in for just a second.
Sure.
You have about 30 more seconds, but tell
Okay.
us just quickly, what is it that you're doing? Like what kind of physical therapy or therapy are you doing? Yeah.
Okay. So I touched on it just a tad, but it's post therapy. So they don't have to have been a patient, but it is post therapy. So we're bridging the gap between discharge from therapy and maintaining wellness. So we're coming in there to create a health and wellness program for them to be seen whenever they want us to come in. We don't exceed 1 hour. And like I said, so generally I would recommend it be 2 to 3 times a week, but we will do whatever it is that they prefer. So we will help keep them motivated and moving. We're not just working on the physical component. We build it on our 6 dimensions. And I can get into those further details if you have any questions. But so please reach out to me. The website is very user friendly. And the last thing that I would mention is if you'd like to learn more, definitely get a hold of me. I put all of my contact information in there. I just wanted to touch on the important things in the way that we're handling and navigating through COVID, which, Brianna, I'm glad you mentioned that because it is a little different than our original idea, but this is how we're working through things right now. But the idea is, yes, individuals or group settings, and we will help keep them motivated and moving and get back on their feet after this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jasmine. And maybe, I don't know if you want to do it in this situation, but maybe put some of that information in the chat so we can get it out to all of our folks that are listening today. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
So our next speaker is Alana Napau. She is the volunteer program manager from Arbor Hospice. Alana, do you want to jump on and tell us a little bit, and try to stick to about 6 minutes for me if you don't mind?
Sure. Thank you so much. So yes, I am the volunteer program manager at Arbor Hospice, as you said, and I have been with the organization for exactly 8 years today. It's my work anniversary just by chance. And we are a nonprofit hospice. We care for patients at end of life, wherever they call home. So it could be their own home, it could be an assisted living or nursing home or hospital. And we do also have a small inpatient unit, a 13-bed inpatient unit in Saline, Michigan, in Washtenaw County. And I'm going to be talking to you about our pet companion and pet therapy program. And to start, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see some of our therapy dogs. So tell me if you see a cute little black pug, please. Okay, great. So this was Sammy. He was actually mine. And he was a certified therapy dog with Therapy Dogs International. And he was one of our therapy dogs for about 5 years. He is over the Rainbow Bridge now, as we say in the pet community. But I'm going to introduce you via photos to some more of our pets. This is our Facebook page that I manage. It's called Alpine Leon and Friends. And those were some of our other therapy and companion dogs. So I oversee that program for Arbor Hospice, and we call it a therapy and companion dog program because some of the dogs are therapy dogs certified through organizations like Therapy Dogs International and TheraPaws. And TheraPaws is one that's actually local to Washtenaw County. But we also do include dogs that don't necessarily have their certification yet, but might be working towards it. And they have to pass essentially a behavioral interview with us. And they also have to be current on all shots with their vet and be able to show proof of that annually. And they have to be a year old or more in case it's something you're thinking about for your own pet, or you can think of a friend off the top of your head who might have a pet who's well suited for this. And we don't restrict it to just canines, but that is the majority of our animals. We have had cats before. We had Butterscotch the bunny, but right, and you've probably seen things in the news about alpacas and horses and all kinds of critters coming through. So most of ours are dogs, like I said. And I'll tell you a little bit about a little bit more about what I do. So what led me to hospice work is really, my background is in social work. So I have a master's of social work from the University of Michigan. It's also where I did my undergrad. And this is a mug they gave me from a speakers panel I did after I graduated. And I also have from the U of M School of Social Work a certificate in advanced clinical dementia practice. So my work with seniors really led me towards work with hospice, and I absolutely love this population. Of course, they're not always seniors, and that's okay too. We do have a pediatric program. And I find that dogs are highly desired for visits to our patients. And I think all of us working with seniors know that there are times when our clients or patients may have difficulty expressing themselves verbally. Or even with facial expressions, if they're in advanced state of a disease, especially if it's a dementia diagnosis such as Alzheimer's, they might not be able to have a two-way conversation like you might experience with any of your colleagues in the Zoom room right now. So having a tool or vehicle in your toolkit during your visit that can help draw that person's personality out is really beneficial to them and to you in relating to them. And we find that dogs are just the perfect way to do that. The other one is music, which my colleague Allie is going to talk about in a bit. But dogs have a way of drawing people out. They can help patients spark memories of their own dogs that they want to share, or they might, you know, if they're in a certain phase of a dementia diagnosis, they might think it is their dog that they used to have or their cat. Having a little dog, he was sometimes mistook for a cat by patients, and that's fine. Whatever brings them joy. And I really, really enjoyed doing those pet therapy visits myself, as well as overseeing the program. So how the pandemic has affected our events, really what my colleagues previously stated, of course, as we are now, we've gone virtual. So of course, that presents some challenges for pet visits because a lot of the joy is tactile, right? And touching and petting the animal can be so soothing. But we also find that seeing an animal on camera can be really, really joyful for clients and their families. And I think we all know this, when you're on a Zoom call and somebody's pet pops on the photo, everyone kind of does a collective, ah, you know, so we know there's still a benefit, especially if your animal can do some tricks or something on command. So that's really how it's shifted for us right now. So let's see what else I can tell you about that. And people can stop me with questions if they would like. Yeah, so that's how we've pivoted to adjust to the pandemic landscape. We don't really have many upcoming events on the horizon, but like one of our facilitators said, when and if we get to a normal place, I'll be recruiting for more pets. There's always more of a demand than there is a supply. So I'll be looking for well-behaved, sociable pets who are welcoming of interaction with anyone and everyone. And we've all known a dog, I'm sure, in our lives who can't get enough attention, right? Some of you probably have them. I know I do. And that's really what I'll be looking for from the community when we get to that point. But for now, you can enjoy some of our other dogs, and they get a little bandana.
Alana, I've already jumped on and liked the page. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
thank you.
I love seeing Sammy. What a great picture. He's so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. He was a special little guy. He was blind and had one eye. And he was blind in that eye. He was a rescue, you might have guessed. He's from Michigan Pug Rescue, and he would have a way of knowing what a patient needed, and pets are so special in that way. He would reach out and put his paw on a patient's hand, and I don't know how he knew the hand was there, or he'd have a way of finding the person in the room who needed him most when I didn't realize it, you know? So it's really extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Alana. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the pictures. And I will confirm that it makes me happy seeing your pet therapy canines. And I'm sure that there's some cats on there as well that I'll be definitely scrolling through later. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for sharing. So our next speaker is Steve Favor. He is the owner of Art for All Ages. And I believe Steve has, he has a little presentation for us. So Steve, I know that I'm gonna rush you along a little bit, but maybe 6 or 7 minutes and I'll jump in if I need to. You there, Steve?
You're on mute.
Yep, I know, I'm sorry. Yes, I got it. I just put my timer on. I gave myself 6 minutes. Thank you, Bree, and also Pandora at Home Watch. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and share with all of you some of the wonderful things that we've learned about art over the years. This particular program is called Art for All Ages, and we have now, because of the pandemic, shifted, and we're Art for All Ages online. And what we would like to share with you today is a little bit about the importance of art in retirement communities and for seniors in particular, whether you're in home or in a community, and talk specifically about what we call benefiting from the creative process. And when we look at this, what we're going to find is that when we, see if we can get this together, this is available for a benefit for everybody. For whether you're in the service workers, for seniors, activity directors, life enrichment, caregivers, everybody can benefit from the creative process. But a little bit about why this is so important. And even though this was pre-COVID, just back in 2016, what we found out that this particular analytical professor, Stephen Fuller, he found out that leaving from residential communities is very costly. And that's what we'd like to look at to start off with. 54% of residents living in an assisted or AL community, they leave, okay? In fact, the normal average stay nationally is only 2 to 3 years. And if anybody knows anything about business, this is called turnover, and it's bad for business. In fact, 92% of the people who do leave AL communities, they do so because of declining health reasons. The study went on and talked about the reality that in a conservative estimate, it costs about $4,000 to replace a single resident that has left one of your communities. If you're an average 100 bed and you have the national average of about 88% occupancy, then you can look at the numbers here and it's staggering as to how much you pay every year for having to replace just those who leave your facility or community. There's about 36,000 assisted living communities in the United States. And just looking at the first 10 largest of those who leave for failing health, the numbers are overwhelmingly staggering at how much is paid to just replenish your occupancy over and over again.
Hey, Steve,
Yes,
I hate
please.
to cut you off, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your art therapy.
We're going to talk about that too, okay? All right, so basically the question is what if you had something that would allow you to be able to benefit in the hospitality range that would enable people to not have this loss? And the answer is art therapy. So we're right on target. Now I know I'm on time here. Just looking at related issues for health, we know that the health issues that can be related to stress come from all of these other things, that you could have all of these other health problems, and that the benefit from art programs can help everybody. We find out that your doctor in this particular study in the UK said that 66% of doctors believe that art has a positive role in the prevention of illness. And if you want to get something more closer than the UK, here's one from Henry Ford Health Study that says basically the same thing, that producing art has a powerful healing properties, okay? And it is something that can help people with all kinds of medical problems, whether it's depression, anxiety, trauma, phobias, and in reality, it helps find relief for those who do it. And this other study is really good because it doesn't matter whether or not you're a Van Gogh or you're doing stick artist paintings, you can still get the reduction of stress in your life because of it. This particular, we'll skip this one because of time. And the studies go on and on about the different kinds of studies for art therapy. Here's the key thing, whether or not which of these is your favorite, music, art, or physical therapy, or even pet therapy, they all are places in your toolbox for your community and for the people you represent and work with, okay? Here's the key, folks. We want to be able to move and find out how we can benefit most from whatever therapy we're doing. And here's the key chart. Some of you may have seen this before. We want to move from what's called passive to active. And no matter which therapy you're using, we want to move from a passive listening, we want to be interactive. If we can see the pets, that's great, but if we're interacting with them, it's even better. I can hear a public lecture on art or hear about art history, and I'm not going to get a lot out of that. I'll get something out of it. But if I'm physically doing the art myself, it's active, and I'm going to get more out of it. And art for all ages. This is what your question was, Bree. And so here we're going to talk about what we do. Our program, and I want to have some audience participation for just a moment here. Just ask you all to raise your hand, and I want you to simply do 2 moves. Everybody in the air, move your hand back and forth like this. I don't see any. Okay, there you go. Now you're moving. I appreciate it. Now, I want you to take your hand and I want you to pat. Just pat. Okay, that's it. Those 2 moves are the basic foundation of our art program. The only difference is you put a sponge in your hand. And with 90 to 100% of our paintings are done with a sponge. And you're right, I'm out of time. But this sponge will allow you to do 90 to 100% of all of our paintings. And I've run out of time, but here I want to just share with you, it's amazing what you can do with a sponge. Art for All Ages basically does these paintings that everybody can do. And it's not about what we can paint, it's about what we can teach you to paint. And again, because of the pandemic, we used to do over 100 live art classes in 5 different states. And now where everything is online. So I appreciate your time. I'm sorry I'm out of time. I know I want to stick to the schedule here, Bree, but anyone who's interested, I'm the very, very first one in the chat with my information. Please check us out online and contact us. We're very cost effective and we would like to bring creativity into your communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it so much. That was very informative. And thanks for the interactive back and forth, tap, tap, tap. We appreciate it. Our next speaker is Allie Buttermore. She's a music therapist from Arbor Hospice. And Allie, go ahead, take it away. You have about 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
Thank you. I don't have anything to screen share, so we can all see each other in the gallery right now. My name is Allie Buttermore. I'm a full-time music therapist with Arbor Hospice. I work with Alana, and so I've worked for Arbor for about 3 years, and I was also lucky enough to do my internship with them I went to Eastern Michigan University. So I spent a lot of time in Ann Arbor and Ypsi area. So I really do like the Washtenaw County area. So I see patients on 2 of our teams, which is Washtenaw County and Wayne County. And so what I do right now, it's a little different, but my normal caseload used to be around 50 or so people. And I would usually see them bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks, I would see the same people. But due to the restrictions from COVID-19, I'm currently running, me and my fellow music therapists are running at about 75% of a normal caseload. I'm seeing about a handful of people in person, and I see about 8 to 10 people virtually every week, but I'll get into more of that in a minute. I wanted to just give a quick overview of music therapy in case anyone didn't know. So music therapy is the use of therapeutic music interventions to work on non-musical goals. And often in hospice care, music therapy is utilized to help assist with pain, anxiety, or sometimes to help facilitate patients' relaxation. And what we do is we take our patient's specific needs and we adapt all of our interventions to meet that person where they're at for what they need that day when we go to visit with them. But what it looks like now is a little bit different than what it used to be before the pandemic. We were taken out of the field early on, just like everyone else has mentioned. We've quote unquote gone virtual, but we have been able to see a handful of people virtually. So I've had to get very comfortable with performing music therapy over Zoom, which was something to really deal with. It's gotten so much better though. Zoom in April is so much different than Zoom now. So, but something that we've been doing amidst the pandemic is Arbor and HOM, the Hospice of Michigan that we are kind of sister companies with, we've gotten a lot of donations for iPads and tablets that we can provide to our patients and families who maybe wouldn't have access to that technology, so that we can reach more people and we can connect to more people during the pandemic. Considering we still have a lot of restrictions on who we can visit in person, but we're doing this, we call it a hybrid model right now, the music therapy team. We are seeing about a few people in person, like I'm seeing 4 people in person and I see about 8 to 10 virtually. But so we're doing a hybrid of a little bit of both, kind of. So I just wanted to say that throughout the pandemic, we have had to adapt and we've had to change things and we've had to be uncomfortable with a lot of things. But I'm really proud to see all of the people I work with at Arbor and HOM just take that as it comes so that we can continue provide meaningful connection to our patients and our families. And a lot of those people, some people might be in facilities and they're not letting their family visit. So being able to jump on our weekly music therapy Zoom is a great time for those family members to be able to see their loved one singing along or making song choices or just engaging. And it's been really great to be able to still do what I like to do in some capacity. I know we all hope to get back to quote unquote normal at some point, but until then, I'm glad I can at least provide some connection to some people.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
Oh. We'll do questions at the very end, Allie, but thank you so much. And it really resonated with me just hearing that you're back in person with some people. That's great to hear. And that, of course, the music and the therapy together is all about making sure that we're trying to alleviate pain or address pain and anxiety in some situations. And love hearing that you have some iPads out there and some tablets to help with getting your message across. So I really appreciate that.
Real quick, with our in-person visits, we've had to adapt because we've changed our infection protocol to make sure that everyone is safe and we can do those visits. So we've had to get used to doing our music therapy visits with a KN95 and a face shield over it, and also maintaining social distancing. So some of the people we visit with are very hard of hearing. So we've had to adapt how loud we're singing and talking in order to still connect with those people. But I'm still so happy that we can still do that, and provide those visits still. But it's been a change, but we're taking it as we come, as it comes at us. I think we all in this Zoom room understand the need that our seniors and our elder, people in our community, they need that connection, especially now. So
yes, I agree. All of us need that connection, right? So that's wonderful. And thank you so much, Allie. I appreciate it. And hang on, we might have a few questions at the end. Thanks again.
Thanks.
And last but not least, we have David Zarek. He's the president of Horses Heal Hearts. And David, we met probably a couple months ago and invited you on our Zoom today and wanted to just hear a little bit more about what you have going on. And I'm sure spring is going to be a more popular time for you and the horses. So we'd love to hear what you have in store.
Okay. Is it all right if I can share my screen?
Absolutely. We'll have our facilitator give you permission.
There we go. Let's get this show on the road here. Okay, my name is Dave Zarek, and I am the president of Horses Heal Hearts of Michigan. And it's a little bit about us. Here is some of the photos that might uplift your spirits a little bit about what we do. A little bit about me. I'm also, I work for the Postal Inspection Service, so we're in federal law enforcement. Vice president of the Livonia Lions Club, on the development board for Gleaners Community Food Bank. Also do some consultation for Yatuma Foundation for the kids, all sorts of different charities. So giving is my life. It's what I've decided to do. And this is my passion, Horses Heal Hearts, because equine therapy can be so effective for people. If you take a look at some of these photos here, you can't help but smiling. And the patient on the right was suffering from ALS. And after the day after, he passed. But the family was just so excited to have the horse come out and spend some time with him. And she's in the process of trying to raise his hand to pet top secret. So what is equine therapy? Well, it's pretty simple. It's horse therapy, and it's experimental mental health treatment that involves a person in therapy interacting with the horses. And that's what we like to try to do, is be hands-on and be very, very, just get them to interact and emotionally, physically, in every way possible that we can. Some of the benefits are respect for the self and others. It helps change the mood of people. It improves communication and social skills. It forms boundary setting, which is very evident when we work with autistic children. You watch the changeover in them, and it's just immense. Also empathy. So there are so many different things, and research, there's plenty of research out there that confirms all these things. I tell you, it does lower your blood pressure, because I can attest to that. In your heart rate, they get you to breathe again. So they alleviate stress and reduces anxiety and depression. We do a lot of work with veterans with PTSD, and the change is immense as well. And also, horses can help teach people how to just be better as a person. We have a lot of our people that we've helped come and volunteer after the facts. And you can see some of the different pictures here that we have here. The young lady on the top left corner is paralyzed from the neck down. And we were able to get her up on the horse. We put a mobility belt around her and took her for a ride that she never, ever thought she would get in her life. And that was her thing. Can I ride the horse? Can I ride the horse? And she saw her partner at the facility, a young man who was in the second picture there in the wheelchair on the left, get on the horse. He has cerebral palsy. He couldn't really move, but he was just grinning and hooting and hollering the whole time. And our hearts were just melting as our volunteers did this as well. So, I mean, this doesn't just benefit the people that we service, it benefits us as well. And on the top right-hand corner, you'll see the photo of one of our disabled veterans, and he lost his legs in Iraq. And I'll tell you, you watch him jump on that horse by himself. God bless you, Allison. And he just enjoyed the ride immensely. So the kids that go out there, like I said, the boy on the bottom right-hand or left-hand corner is autistic. And we take the horses out to the Life Labs kids in Foundation and Learning Center in Ferndale, Michigan. And the Livonia Lions donated a riding pen at that facility so that we could take the horses out without the neighbors going, oh my gosh, there's horses in the neighborhood. And you know how people can be. So we teach these young autistic children how to bond with the horse. And some of their temperaments can be, swinging all over the place. But when they start to get on the horse and they start to learn that this big 900-pound creature is cool and is not going to hurt them, the trust factors, the horses sense the trust. And once those horses trust you, they will do anything for you. So those are some of the things that equine therapy does and some of the benefits. These are some of the groups that we worked with in the past and continue to want to work with. So COVID has affected us, and that's one of the biggest problems that we've had so far is we can't really do anything with people that we want to serve because of you can't social distance. You have to be able to pick people up and put them on horses. You have to get them in and make sure they're strapped in. And short of putting a hazmat suit on with an oxygen tank, we just can't do that. What we are going to be doing in the springtime will be some trail rides for veterans. We can social distance with adults like that because they can get on the horses themselves. And once we do that, end to end from a horse to another horse is way over 6 feet. So we won't have too many problems. And we sponsor that. We do not charge the veterans anything to take the trail rides. We look for other sponsors to pick up some of the tabs for that. And it's usually about a $40 per person ride that we give, and we get donations to help do that. So some of those are, you look at some of them. Operation Injured Soldiers Avengers is a mentoring group for children at risk, and we brought in 119 kids to the farm and had them all have a horse experience and got them all riding, and it was amazing to see the energy that the kids brought and how when we got them to calm down, the energy that the horses calmed down. These are a couple of our horses. Top Secret is the mainstay of Horses Heal Hearts. He's 16 years old. Scrappy's 9, and he's getting a lot better. But they're what we call bomb-proof. They will not spook no matter what you do. You could drop firecrackers right next to them, fire a shotgun right there. They don't spook, and they have to be because they have precious cargo on them all the time. A little bit about our address there. We have an address in Livonia. The farm is in Fenton, Michigan. We do some traveling events. We try to get more people out to the farm. That way they can experience the whole farm experience and see the horses in their element. And plus it's absolutely beautiful. We have a heated barn that we can't use right now. Our webpage is horseshealheartsmi.org, and our Facebook page, look us up. We're at Horses Heal Hearts of Michigan there. And we'd love to have you visit our sites. We'd love to have you communicate with us and tell us what you want to do with us because we're there to serve. So I believe my time is up, and I will turn it back over to you, Bree. And thank you, Bree and Pandora, for inviting me to come on today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I know that one of the things that you and I had spoken about is maybe getting our caregivers, our caregiver families up to your Fenton farm, because as everybody knows, all of us need a little bit of support right now with the pandemic and everything else that's gone on. So I just appreciate that presentation and just again, the connection in regards to what it is that we can do as folks that are trying to help our community. So thanks again for that. I want to open it up for questions. We have about 6 more minutes if anyone wants to throw any questions in the chat for our speakers today. But I would also just like to thank Pandora for getting our speakers together and making sure that we have a great plethora of people on the call educating our community. And of course, Julie Capra for always helping us. And I know that there's a lot of others that are on that have helped us immensely. I know V's helped us as well. So thanks so much for that. And do we have any questions for any of the speakers?
I don't see any questions in the chat feature, just a lot of really good information. David made the comment about, well, he mentioned that someone making the comment about meeting the patient or resident where they are is critical. And that is so very important. All of these therapies are really so amazing in the healing process of, the patients and residents. So if anyone has any questions, you can actually unmute yourself and ask them really quick. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up and I'll let you all know when the next community connector is.
Great.
Any questions, comments? Well, thank you all for joining. And our next community connector is in March. March is National Women's History Month. So our topic is women's health and wellness. It will be March 18th. And we hope that you all can attend that as well. Thank you for joining participants and speakers.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you know of any speakers that you think would be good speakers for our women's health and wellness, or any of our presentations in the future, we would welcome any suggestions, and we appreciate that. So again, thank you so much. Thanks, Pandora, and we're signing off. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Thank you, everybody.